Domino Thinking presents Natural Born Speakers with your host, Alison Donaghey. If you were born to talk and want to know how to build your career around it, then Natural Born Speakers is the show for you. Now grab your seat because this is the place to be. Now here is your host, Alison.
Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. So glad you could join us. I want to apologize in advance for my sexy, sick voice I have going on right now. Last show I had a sick guest and I think I somehow got it through the airwaves and now I'm sick. But fortunately, I have a great guest today, Shaeah Love, who will be doing a ton of the talking and you will be not having to suffer through my voice. Our title today for our show is Triumphant Transformations, Our Greatest Superpowers That Help Us Navigate the Human Experience. And Shaeah is going to talk to us about this. She is a transformational coach, an inspirational author and speaker. She is a Connect Now leader, an entrepreneur since 1998, so she has been at this a while. And she's been serving to connect people with themselves, nature, and others in meaningful and fulfilling ways through transformational coaching, workshops, women's groups, yoga classes, CDs, the healing art, her book, her radio show, and her YouTube channel. She is all over, and you'll be able to find her in a lot of these places, which we will let you know later on down the road. Her website right now is shaeahlove.com, and don't leave now because you want to listen to what she has to say, but at the end of the show, totally go and check her out. She's got a lot of things going on. She is dedicated to working with women and helping them step into their leadership roles. She believes the world needs us, and we are the ones we have been waiting for. Let's welcome Shaeah Love. Welcome.
Thanks, Alison. And I think your voice is sexy. I like it.
Oh, well, what are you doing later?
Yeah.
Man. Well, I'm glad it sounds sexy on your end because in my head it sounds horrible. But thank you for joining us. I'm really, really happy to have you here. I know we bump into each other in town at different events, and you always seem to be doing some really new and great and groovy things and going somewhere to do some speaking, and it's a treat to have you here, so thank you.
Oh, I'm honored and thrilled to have the opportunity to be on your show and to, share my story and hopefully inspire whoever's listening to step more fully into who they are and speak their share and speak their gifts and their amazingness to the world.
Mm-hmm. And it is such an important thing. And I think we underestimate the importance of sharing who we are, getting to know who we are and sharing who we are, because I believe it's through stories that we can really connect with each other. And those stories can either be those really negative, horrible gremlin stories we tell ourselves, or they can be those positive, great, inspirational stories, and then we can share those with others, and we truly can change the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We all have unique experiences there's a common element to that we can all relate to and be inspired by, for sure.
Right. Now, if you're anything like most people I meet, you probably haven't spent all of your life in this transformational state, and often people go through processes to get here. So do you want to share some of what your journey has been?
Sure. Yeah, it's quite interesting because, I was reflecting on this earlier about how I used to be an incredibly shy and introverted person. Through my childhood, I was very different, I'm a redhead and come from a very different background than what my peers, my fellow students were. And just was really different. And then also experienced an accident that kind of created a little deformity on my face for a while. So I was very ostracized as a kid and was one of those kids that no one would play with and stood on the side of the playground all alone. And I know it's quite a tragic story. And
I think it's a common one too.
Yeah, I'm finding out, and it's a big thing coming out over and over and all over about bullying. And, Pink T-shirt Day was just last week. And even the Prime Minister did a little bit about how hurtful words are, and how cruel and how deep the wounds can go when we are cruel to each other, say mean things. And so, that is what happened to me as a kid. And so I was very shy, delve into the world of books and my imagination. And then it wasn't until high school where I moved to a new city and actually went to a performing arts school where I really started to come out of my shell and thrive and flourish. And I loved acting. I loved theater. It was such a liberation for me to be able to express myself and be unique and be honored for my uniqueness and actually even celebrated for my uniqueness. And so that was really healing and empowering experience for me. And I went on to study drama through university. And but then I got more into the environmental movement and kind of got sidetracked a little bit. But a part of me has always been involved in performance. There's something that I really love about being creative and expressed in a creative way. So I've either been a part of a band or a choir or a theater group or a dance troupe. So even when I was an environmentalist, or I owned a retreat center for a while, and then I got into the healing arts, I've always dabbled in performing and expressing myself creatively. And
that is and I get that from a lot of people that I've interviewed, that is a common beginning for many of them. Personally, I'd be terrified to get up on stage and do any acting or singing. I can talk my face off, but acting and singing, thank God there's people like you that are willing to do that.
Fun. Well, you get to
if you say so.
I
did one of those a lip sync battle at a party at my house the other day. I was getting up there in front of the 5 or 8 people, whatever it was that I knew, and trying to do it. I couldn't imagine doing it in front of a group of strangers. So it's really interesting what makes us all tick differently. But thank you for doing it so that I don't have to.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yes. Well, that sometimes I'm like, it's good to know that people have different gifts and different tendencies, because it gives us each space to have our own unique gifts, right? And our own unique interests. And and then I got into a spiritual path. There was a point where I just became very unhappy. And so I became a seeker of truth and meaning and trying to make sense of this crazy world that we live in. And so then I started taking different workshops. I became a workshop junkie, and exploring what it is to, just what the deeper meaning of life is, and who I really am, and then I really flourished in that environment of truth seeking and really connecting with people on a more meaningful way. Because even though I loved theater, and I still do, it's a lot of pretending, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was this part of me, this deeper part of me, that was wanting to be known more for who I was rather than who I was pretending to be or portraying to be. And I still feel like I'm on that path, and I think we all are. It's an ongoing journey of peeling away the layers of the onion to really get to the core of who we are, and being able to express ourselves authentically and connect in deeply fulfilling, intimate, authentic ways. And so that's been my path for the last 14 years, being in the spiritual growth, facilitating workshops on consciousness, awakening, conscious relating, conscious community building, and And so that's through facilitating the workshops, I came to really enjoy expressing myself authentically, like being on stage as me, not just a character. And there was even more of a thrill in that, like being seen for me and being able to connect with people and inspire people as me, that was kind of a big revolution for me. So that's been thrilling. And so for me, it's been this ongoing path of, really getting that thrill of being authentic. I have a natural gift to be vulnerable and share deep things about my experience. And I've come to see that is a gift and a way to inspire people. And I find a lot of fulfillment from that.
And it is such a gift. It's not encouraged, I think, in our society to be vulnerable and open. And we need people like you who are willing to do that so that we learn how it's done. And it creates a safe environment for all of us to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of like the Marianne Williamson quote about, our liberation gives permission. I can't remember the exact quote, but the essence is who being free liberates others, right? Our liberation liberates others and gives others permission to show up and shine their light. And that's been a huge motivating force for me. And also, if I'm not doing that, I suffer. Like if I'm somehow caught, which I still do, and it still drives me crazy, when I get into a new environment, having just moved to a new city just over a year ago, getting to know new people and trying to promote myself, my new business. It's, I can fall into that trap of presenting or trying to be something or someone. And when I do that, I suffer. Like, I don't know if you can relate or if you know what I'm talking about, but there's like, my soul knows when I'm being inauthentic and I go into depression. And that's a big part of my service and my passion is to support people, because I really believe a lot of people out there are suffering. Depression is a huge epidemic in our North American society. And I really believe it's linked to this pressure of media, society, our parents, our teachers, media, I already said that, to show up and be a certain way. And when we try to be something that we're not, there's a disconnect that happens and we get depressed, or at least I do. And my soul, and I've come to see that depression is a good indicator. It's actually a wake-up call. It's like my soul going ding, 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 ding. Hello, you are not being true to you. You are trying to be something else, and this isn't feeling good. And try again. Like reconnect to who you really are and speak your truth. And that's why it's so important. What you're doing is, promoting and inspiring, encouraging people to come out and share their story and find their voice, their authentic voice in who they are and what they're up to. And that's what I really love about what you're doing and the opportunity that you've given me to do this, because it's what brings me more alive, more connected to myself. And so I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for that. Because I guess in my soul, I know the power of a story and sharing the story and living your story and speaking is such a great opportunity for people to share that story. And even the other avenues that you have, your book writing, your YouTube channel, all of that, is such a great way to model things. And I'm always so very fascinated with who people are and where they came from. And I totally don't think I'm alone in that. I think people around us are craving to hear our stories so that they can feel more normal about their stories, and then they can get outside of all of that, the negative stories that surround their stories.
Yes, exactly. And that's what the biggest motivation and thread of my book, From My Heart to Yours, is about. Like, it's exactly that, is me speaking from my heart to the listener, the reader's heart, to let them know that they aren't alone in whatever challenge. It's so part of being human. We
Right.
have so many challenges. There's so many pressures. There's so much expectations, and it's just intense. I find being human sometimes is so intense.
And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
there are things that are so working against us. Like, we are so connected online and through the internet, and there's more inundation with who we're supposed to be than I think, there's ever been. And maybe that's an illusion on my
Yeah.
part. Maybe I'm just thinking it's more difficult and we're better skilled at dealing with it. I have no idea, but I think it is just so scary, all of the stuff that is thrown at us about our shoulds and our supposed to's and all of that. But where do people find your book?
They can go to my website, shaeahlove.com, but it's also on Amazon if they search From My Heart to Yours, Shaeah Love. So it's definitely available. And it's really great for anyone out there who, is ever been struggling or is struggling with that searching for who you are. You struggle with depression because you feel disconnected from what you're here for, or there's a lot of real life experiences in there that I really share from my heart authentically, to let people know that they aren't alone, and that we have this amazing ability to transform. Right? That's what my whole shtick, it's just what I'm so fascinated and impassioned about, is this amazing capacity we have as humans to continually transform our experience of who we are and of life, and the way we are in the world and how we relate in the world. And it's amazing.
It truly, it is. It is. Now, when you wrote this book, how was that for you? Was there, because I know a lot of people who are speakers or writers as well, and did you receive any backlash from that? And if you did, how did you deal with it? Or was it all real positive, great support? Because I know there has to be some level of fear, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you put all of that stuff out there. And while you may not be up on the stage speaking at all, it's in print, it's forever. And what stuff came up with that?
It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And even to the very end of, I was done the book, I was still questioning whether I was going to publish it, because I was doubting, do I really want to expose myself this deeply and fully? Is this really what I want to do? Am I crazy? Why am I doing this? But it just was a deep, strong calling. And I had a moment when I finished the book. I was in Costa Rica, and I had hiked to this mountain, to this area called Emerald Caves. And there were these incredible waterfalls and caves where someone had built a kitchen. And I set up my sleeping bag right on the edge of the waterfall. And I spent 5 days there, I believe, just meditating, being in nature. And one day I was meditating right beneath this waterfall, and I was contemplating this thing, like, okay, my book, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to put myself out there in this way? Because like you said, it's permanent. It's an ink. Like, you can't take it back.
Nope.
Maybe there's a bunch of people hearing this right now. Well, I guess then it is going to be recorded. But anyway, when it's in ink, it was like, okay, there's a level of permanence to this. And I had this incredible moment of oneness, of feeling the energy of nature and of my own personal energy, connection to spirit, higher self, however you want to call it, like this rush of energy through me, and this big yes, this is who you are. It's time for you to step up and share your voice, own who you are. It was a necessary step in my evolution of coming into myself, owning my experience, owning my story, owning my learnings, because I share a lot of my tools for transformation and healing in there, and trusting and knowing that I am here for a purpose, and that my story, my voice is going to serve people. And I really believe that anyone who feels called in any way to speak through blogging, through writing, through speaking, really needs to trust that, because we all do have, we're all here for a reason. We all have gifts and lessons and learnings and insights to share that are going to touch people, that are going to inspire people, that are going to empower people. And we just don't know, who or when. But there's this trusting, this knowing, this embracing of being. Like, I am here on this planet. I have this impulse to write this book. I need to trust that and own that and put it out there and not hold back. And it was received with a lot of incredible support, and people, I think the people, any backlash was maybe my parents, because I share a bit about them and my life and history. So for them, I think it maybe was the hardest for them to hear the more deeper parts of me and my secrets that I hadn't exposed to anyone before. And, but mostly, but my mom said that they were very proud of me, that I was able to do that, and just commended for my courage. And people really, the readers, the feedback that I got is they really appreciated, were inspired by my authenticity, my vulnerability. And that, they did find it inspiring and comforting, to know that they're not the only one who struggle with these things, with these issues, with challenges of self-doubt or questioning or insecurity or depression or loneliness, or, there's all these human experiences that aren't talked about a lot in life. It's all about, being your best self and empowerment. And I really love all of that as well. And that's what I stand for as well. But I really think it's important to look at the whole picture, the fullness, the wholeness of who we are as human beings.
Right. And I've known people who have written books and they've really been ostracized by their family. So it's terrific that they were able to see that and still support you. Not that they were ostracized you, but that there was that hurt or those emotions for them, and they were still able to be there for you. Like, that says huge things about who they are, because not everybody is that fortunate. They still feel that need to do it, and they go ahead and they do it, and their lives are transformed because of the process. But it's nice to hear when it goes well for people.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it was better, because there's less hidden, it brought more conversations, more meaningful connecting and conversations that hadn't been had. That because avoidance
helps people see you.
Yeah.
Right? And I think even with the people who have difficulties, they still get seen, which ultimately is what they were trying to achieve, is that authentic self. So people who are wanting to do this, or wanting to get up and speak about what their stories are and what their transition and transformation has been, what are your suggestions for them? Like, do you have any techniques or tips that you would suggest to help people get that out there?
Well, the message on the very first page of my book is just start. Like, if there's an impulse, if there's a calling, if there's, I'd had an idea to write a book for many years and I had suppressed it. And I think that was a part that fed my depression. Anytime we resist who we are or what is wanting to be expressed, we're suppressing ourselves, and that doesn't allow the fullness of our being to be. And so our energy gets suppressed, or we go into depression. We're not expressed. It's, depression is the opposite of expression. And so if there's any like thought to just go to like, okay, I had this thought of I want to create a video blog, or I want to write a blog, or I want to write an article, or I want to contact Alison and be on Natural Born Speakers. I just say, go for it. Don't hold back. It's in the holding back where we really suffer, and not allow ourselves to be fully alive, to be fully lived, to be fully fulfilled. And for me, it was just that first step and just starting, and then it just came pouring out, and there, there's always can be challenges along the road, but that's part of life anyway, right? We're going to hit blocks and resistances within, and it's just continuing to work with them. And that kind of leads me to my superpowers that I was talking about.
Yes, let's get onto that.
So, so as humans, we are amazing beings because we have this incredible brain that can, often work against us at times, with mindset and, programming and limiting beliefs and all this stuff. But ultimately, we also have this amazing capacity to imagine, right? To envision. And for me, I really feel like that's a superpower that sets humans apart, is we can envision what's possible. And that's where invention, innovation, solutions come from. And so I feel it's so essential for people, for myself, I can just speak for myself, but also my clients. When I coach my clients, I get them to really connect with a vision for themselves and their life that's deeply connected to who they are at the core, their values, what's important to them, and take time we do a discovery process so they really get in touch with who they are beyond what they've been told they should be, or what they should be doing, but really get to the heart and soul of their being, and from there create a vision, connect with the vision for their life. Mm-hmm. And in that vision, it opens up incredible energy and excitement, right, for our lives. And often, it's connected to a greater vision for the world too, that other people share, which brings us to a sense of community, that a collectiveness, so that we're not alone. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the first greatest superpowers that I really encourage people to connect with, to like live yourselves the opportunity to envision what's possible, what's going to make your heart sing, what's going to make you want to like jump out of bed in the morning and feel so excited to get through your day and go through the challenges and the barriers that come up in life, because it ultimately do, right? We ultimately always experience challenges. And
absolutely. We were talking about that before the show too, right?
Yeah.
Those challenges are those gateways to ideally fabulousness.
Yes, and that's a great segue into the second superpower, and which I believe is I think our greatest superpower, which is love. And just this dedication, well, first, like owning that we are loving beings. At the core, I truly believe we are love. That's who we are. And that's when we're the most happiest, alive, is when we are letting the love that we are flow to ourselves, to others, to the world. And the love is what enables us to love those parts of us or those challenges and allow them to become opportunities, right? Because so often we can like fight and get into our warrior, which I feel we need at times too, the warrior spirit. But those gremlins, you know, the self-doubt and the parts of us that work against us, when we can love those parts of us, then those parts of us can transform. And this is part of the work I do with my clients, and then ongoingly with myself, is working on loving all the parts of us, and in the loving of those parts of us, we get to integrate them into our being, and they actually become allies. Mm-hmm. It's quite magical, actually. I do a workshop called Triumphant Transformation, and in that, I'll help people do a process with their gremlins using their superpower of love. And I have these light bulbs that go off when people go, "Oh my God, my gremlin actually just wants me to be happy," or "My gremlin just wants me to succeed," because ultimately it is a part of us and it does want the best for us. It's just got a little skewed perspective, right? And it's
like
to
all of
protect us.
Our voices all have their own personality types.
Exactly.
And it's figuring out how to best communicate with those personalities. That, I think it's true. I think it is a game and we are a team, and ultimately happiness is the goal.
Yeah, and freedom, and you know, it's in the embracing of all that we are that we truly become free, because we become whole, integrated beings that fully love who we are. I'm not fully there yet myself, but I have definitely moments of it, and I know that, you know, my experience of when I'm in that place of like full love and acceptance of myself, oh my God, life is amazing. I'm sure you've experienced it, right?
Yeah, you know, when you're just tingling all the time because you know it's all right.
Yeah, it's just all good. And it's, you know, we're in the zone, and I think everyone can relate to those times. And we're not in it all the time. And like we were saying before the show, that brings the contrast, right? So then we can appreciate when we are even more, because like, oh yeah, here we are again. I'm back in the love flow, in the zone. And so just knowing and trusting and consciously cultivating ourselves as that loving being, so that we can have more and more of those moments and bring more and more ease and freedom and happiness into our lives, and ultimately the lives of those around us. Because I know, even just from this morning, when I'm grumpy, my partner also is affected, right? He doesn't feel the love when I'm not feeling the love. And I like it, and I'm sure he likes it when he feels the love when I'm in the love, right? So
it's easy to multiply that when it's all heading in that direction, right?
Yeah, we're major amplifiers, and we have major impact. And that's, I guess, takes me to the third superpower, which is knowing that who we are, what we're doing, how we're being in the world does have an impact. Like, we do have an impact in our actions, in our choices. And so that's our next superpower, is our choices. Making conscious choices and taking inspired action, and in alignment with our vision and our values, right? It all links together, and our commitment to be loving beings. And when all three of those are humming, wow, it's amazing.
Yes. And do you speak about this?
Yeah, so I do a talk, like a workshop called Triumphant Transformation. That's one of my talks that I do. I'm going to be giving one of those in Victoria in September at the Victoria Metaphysical and Intuitive Development Group. It's a meetup group in Victoria on September 9th. I also do a workshop that's called From Out of the Box and Into Possibility, which is similar. It's about this, how we can transform, right? This transformation of getting out of these restrictions, the limiting beliefs, the imposed ideas of who we think we are, or who others have boxed us into being. And then when we bring awareness to that, then we can, again, consciously choose love, embrace who we are, and consciously choose to open more into possibility and be more freely expressed. And find our voices, tying it back into being the speaker and being a good.
That's right. And how do you find these places to speak at?
I work really hard.
Because it's not an easy job. I know that.
Yeah, it's really just continually getting out there and making connections. And Meetup is a great resource, like looking for meetup groups that are a similar theme with what you're about and what you're speaking about. And just sending them messages. Like I've probably sent out dozens, like at least 3 dozen, if not more, messages to different meetups in Alberta. I did some talks in Alberta in the fall at meetup groups in Calgary and Edmonton. I did one in Port Alberni, one in Parksville, and I'm doing looking at arranging another one in Parksville, and then I'm going to be doing a workshop in Whistler. So like it's just really continually getting out there.
Right.
And I thought, so this is one of the things I found really interesting, because I had this dream of being a public speaker, and I thought that I had to build up to it, and I had to become a really successful coach, make sure my book was a bestseller, and then I'll be a public speaker, right? But ultimately,
Right.
I wanted to be a public speaker. I love speaking to groups. I love connecting to people. And I hired a coach last year to support me in this journey of stepping more fully into my gifts and being more out there in the world, being a coach myself. And one of the first things she said, the best way to get clients is to book speaking gigs. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have to wait for someone to tell me to be a public speaker. I can just proclaim myself as that. And so that was huge for me. And that was so exciting for me to just, this is what I want to do. This is what I love to do. And I just started putting it out there. Mm-hmm. And very shortly after that, I was in France on holidays. But from there, I was sending messages to meetup groups and booked those gigs in Edmonton and Calgary within like a week. It was just boom, boom, done like that. And and so it's just, it's really making the choice. It's having your vision, loving yourself, owning and embracing who you are, knowing that you have something of value, that you have who you are is a gift. We each have a unique gift to share through our unique experiences, our unique voice, the way we say things. The way I say something is going to land differently than the way you say maybe the exact same thing, right? So trusting and knowing that I'm going to find my audience, because that can be a trap that I want to speak to, because I often fall into this trap of comparison. Mm-hmm. And thinking, there's already tons of people out there talking about transformation or empowering women, or, who would want to listen to me? Or, there's that voice, the self-doubting, the gremlins that come in, right? Yeah. I'm sure you might be familiar with those a bit.
Oh, for sure. I don't know if anybody's unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's just, just telling those little gremlins, I hear you, and knowing that we each have a unique voice, and that there are people out there who are meant to hear the message from me, from the way I say it, and that there are enough people out there needing to hear, needing to be inspired, needing motivation to take that step to owning that they want to be a speaker and say, oh my God, something, Shaeah just spoke right to me, and I'm going for it. And they get on Meetup and they contact a group, or they hire a coach to support them in creating their speech, and whatever the next step is, that there's someone out there to inspire us to do that. And that's what we're all here for. We're all here to support each other, to inspire each other, to really be in this together. When I'm in that mode of getting that we're all in this together and we're not here to compete, oh, life is just so much better and easier and more enjoyable.
Well, there's that mindset of abundance when we're thinking
Yeah.
like that, and when we realize for those speakers out there who are getting started, that there is enough space on the stage. There are enough stages in the world. There's enough people that need to hear what you have to say, and like at the beginning of your book, just get started.
Yeah. Just start.
Yeah. So how do you work with people? Like, it's fine and great to say, well, get in touch with who you are and understand yourself and all of that. What are some of the ways that people can go about that?
On their own, you mean, or
Yeah.
with?
Well, eventually it would be ideal for people to come and work with someone like you who's able to help them through that process. But I find that it becomes this very vague kind of get in touch with who you are. And it's like, that's great in theory, but how the hell do I get started with that shit? I just don't know. And I think people naturally, once they take a step and put their toe in that pool, then they want more information. But I think sometimes the vagueness of that concept stops people from even putting their foot in that pool.
Yeah, I know it's really tough. And even myself, being on this journey of constantly striving to live an authentic life, it's not always easy, as I talked about before. It's there's a lot of forces working against us, and there's a lot of programming that we have to undo. And I'm still working with it constantly through my own personal processes, or with professional help like coaching or counseling. But really, again, the first step is curiosity. Like it's like, oh, you mean there is something different, or there's another way of being than what media portrays, or the status quo, or and I think internally there's a knowing, there's an inkling that there is something more, that there's like, I think a lot of people often say, is this it? Is this all there is? Is this, is it just getting the job and the car and the house? And why do I feel so empty inside? I just saw a video of Alanis Morissette a couple of weeks ago about how she shares her story of how she acquired, success, fame, everything that she was told that was the ultimate goal, right? The dream. And she was depressed, suicidally depressed. Because she wasn't connected to herself. There was a disconnect, and it's a journey, and I think it's also a lifelong journey. But it's such a rewarding journey, because in those moments when I really am deeply connected to who I am, and I have the opportunity to be seen, or to be known, or to connect with someone as me, Shaeah, not as some role or some identity or some posturing, or it's just me in the raw. It's just the most incredible experience that is deeply fulfilling and mystical and spiritual, that I think is what we're ultimately here for, And
I have to say, when I do bump into you out and about, you do seem so very, very authentic. It just oozes from who you are, and it's almost tangible, that sense of you living who you are. It's the same way as when you bump into somebody who's living who they aren't, and they're posturing and they're filling a role. You can feel that unauthentic. What even is not even a word? Unauthenticness.
Inauthentic. Yeah.
Thank you. That. And if it's not a word, I have no problem making words up. Even
that's awesome. I love it. My partner does it all the time. He's French, so I love made up words.
Oh, yeah, they're the best. I
Yeah.
think I should start a dictionary of these pretend words. But you can tell your soul feels when they're not being true and honest. And
Yeah.
when I bump up against you, my soul feels that you're being true and honest about who you are. And I'm always so inspired by that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad because I still struggle with feeling like yeah, it's scary. It's, especially when we're in new situations and we're meeting new people to, be ourselves. It's very vulnerable and risky and edgy, especially for those of us who have childhood wounds of bullying and being made wrong, and but it's just something in me that won't settle. That like I've tried, it's just anytime I stray from showing up raw and authentic and real, I suffer. Like literally, I go into a pit of despair. And I've come to realize, as I mentioned earlier, that that's my soul's way of indicating, of waking me up and calling me more back into integrity, into alignment. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. Like I said, it's a lifelong journey. And so I don't know if I answered that question about like if someone wants. I guess like.
Well, it is. They start with curiosity, and you're absolutely
So I
right.
think it's yeah. Curiosity, journaling is a really great way. Like just, you can even ask yourself, like, who am I in your journal? Like, who am I? And just like free write and just start letting your soul, just be expressed, or,
Right.
or even interview yourself on a video if you're a more audio, video, visual type person, or like speak into your, phones have recordings now, and just start exploring.
Right. And I think that is a huge one when we're actually saying it to ourselves, especially for those positive affirmations. There is that thing that changes when we hear ourselves say something about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really interesting phenomenon that occurs. I was told it would happen, and I was like, whatever, because I'm sometimes a non-believer, and yeah, I did it, and I was like, wow, that is so weird hearing me speak to me. That's not inside my head, because having it inside my head is a totally different experience than hearing it in a recording.
Yeah. 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 So, depending on, some people are more writers, some people are more audio, some people are visual. So whatever your mode is to express, then explore with that, play with that with yourself. And so that's one way. Another is, there's different books out there, workshops. There's something called enlightenment intensives, where you actually go through a process of exploring, discovering who you are, like who your true essence is. And so there's those ways. There's counseling, hiring a professional,
Like
a
you,
counselor or a coach who,
like
yes,
you,
what we were talking
ShaeahLove.com.
about, promotion. Yeah. Or no,
Well,
shameless,
we're
shameless
talking
self.
about promotion. You can take some time here to like shamelessly promote some of the stuff that you're doing and what you have to offer and how people can find you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as you've heard, for those who've been listening, my passion is supporting women, especially, but I'm open to working with all people, but women especially, because that's my journey, and to really go in this journey of self-discovery, of rediscovering or discovering if you've never been connected to who you are. But I believe we all have in some level. So it's a journey of discovering, of reclaiming, of owning who you are, clarifying your values, what's important to you, and really getting in touch with your deep heart, its calling, longings, your soul. And then the process of, okay, now that I know who I am, then going about living that and the conscious choices and actions, inspired actions, to be living who you are and having the impact and the type of relationships and expressions of who you are that brings the deepest fulfillment to your life. And it is a journey of transformation, and my special interest is working with women who maybe suffer from depression because of you've got the job, you've got the car, you've lived the material life, what has been said is the way to live, but there's a disconnect. You're wondering if there's something more, if there's something deeper meaning.
Right.
And that's the journey that I love to take people on, is that connection to meaning and authenticity and alignment with your soul and your heart. And then that results in deeper and more fulfilling relationships, and it's a beautiful thing. And I love it. It's so juicy. And
You gotta love juicy.
Yeah.
And you're also available as a speaker.
Yes, and I love working with groups. I love doing workshops and public talks to women's groups, professional or spiritual. I'm even getting into. I'm working with youth right now too. I'm volunteering with a local youth group, and I'm really interested in working with youth on this level as well. Because the earlier we start, then the less we need to unravel and undo. Right? We can. We can start living more authentically at an earlier age, and the world definitely could use and benefit from that.
Yes.
And and I'm going to be at the Every Woman conference in Whistler, May 13th to 15th, offering one of my workshops there. But definitely if you'd like me to come and talk, I'm willing to travel. I go to Alberta quite often because my family is there. Or anywhere in British Columbia, or even I'm willing to fly. I love to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And traveling is my passion.
And we're so close to the border here to the States. It makes it quite an easy little jaunt down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then how do people find you?
So you can go to my website, shaeahlove.com, and it's SHAEAH, shaeahlove.com. And my website is, my email is connect@shaeahlove.com. Or give me a call. Can we put telephone numbers on air? Would you rather not me do that?
I'm thinking maybe not.
Okay.
You can if you really want to, but
they can go to my website.
I'm thinking email is good.
Yeah, sure. That's all good.
Not that any of our listeners are weirdos. I'm not trying to suggest that. It is out there forever.
Yeah.
Yes. And then people can also know you through your book, which you said is available on Amazon, and it is called From My Heart to Yours.
Yeah, and it's if you're just starting to be curious about this journey of self-discovery and transformation, it's a great place to start. To just hear a bit about my story and maybe get the courage and inspiration to take that extra step on your journey and keep moving forward. And
yes. And can they also find your book on your website?
Yes, it does. Okay. It's on my website. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And they can find your CD there as well?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a yoga teacher. So I work with people on all aspects of their beingness. So I don't just work with the mental issues of creating our life, but embodiment, because a big part of who we are and how we show up is embodiment. There's a great TED Talk. I can't remember who it is, but she talks about how we hold our bodies really influences on how we feel. And so I love to work with people on all levels: body, mind, heart, spirit. So it's a great way.
You're like the whole package, aren't you?
That's right.
You're like the one-stop shop. If you need it, Shaeah has it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
that is so very cool. Well, that's so great. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time out today and doing most of the talking because I don't think I could have contributed much today. So thank you. My voice thanks you. And you had so many great and wonderful things to contribute. I really appreciate it. I just want to point out the irony that you started out this show saying how you were shy and you had red hair. And I love your hair.
Mm. Yeah, thank
You
you.
wear it so well. And it's so funny how we can look at somebody and go, wow, like I love her hair. Check her out. She looks so good and she looks so comfortable with it. But then to hear that was a
The
point
bane of
of,
my existence.
yeah. And it's so interesting to see, and it's such evidence to see that what we sometimes feel on the inside or have felt on the inside is not what other people see. And even
Yeah.
when they speak to it, they're not talking about it in a way that we're hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So often we will tease people or we'll say something in passing without any consciousness to it. But then our gremlins turn that into such a great, big, huge story. So I'm so glad you've kept your hair and,
Yes,
and you
I've come
embrace it
to,
so well.
yes, exactly. I have come to appreciate and embrace my hair. I love it. It's fun. It's
So
definitely,
cool.
it expresses my inner wild side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it is great. And again, thank you so much. Any last minute comments you want to make before we tie this up?
Um, yeah, again, just on that uniqueness, it just brings me back to like really embracing who we are. And I think we can, from the people who we see really have a big impact on us, like the people that really show up in quirky ways, really inspire us. And I think it's so great for those who let out our quirkiness and our uniqueness, and it's so liberating and it makes life more enjoyable and it gives permission for others to do the same. And this is what the world needs more of, is more freedom to be ourselves and to love ourselves as we are and to give each other permission and honor our diversity.
And to recognize it in other people. If you see somebody who is like cool and funky, tell them they're cool
Yeah.
and funky, because that will encourage them to continue to be cool and funky, so then they can influence other people to continue that. Like it just feeds that
Yes.
system.
Yes,
And it's
it
such a
ripples
positive
out.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would challenge everybody out there listening. The next time you're in the line at the coffee shop or the grocery store and there is somebody that you look at and you go, wow, they've got a great look, or love their voice, or that's a great bag, or whatever it is that's going on, I would really encourage you to step up and just acknowledge that with openness and honesty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so great to praise each other and to just celebrate each other. And the more we can do that, the better we all feel. And it's a beautiful world we can create together.
Yes, we can. And thank you for taking steps to make that happen.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Yes. All right. Well, our time is up. So thanks again. And people can find you at shaeahlove.com. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, it's been such a delight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak my voice and just share my story and be able to, just be myself. And it's been so much fun. It's been a real treat.
Oh,
thanks,
good.
Alison.
Good. You're very welcome, Shaeah. So until next Thursday, speak up because you have something to say and we want to hear it.
Thanks for hanging out with Natural Born Speakers. But don't stop now. Contact Alison with questions to be a guest or hire her as a speaker. Go to dominothinking.com. See you same place and time next week.